I think I'm live. I really do. I think I'm live. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do something we haven't done before. We're going live with a guest right now. Very excited. Live with a guest. Oh, and there we go. There we go. I got a loop. That's why it's new. Got to turn the audio down here. Turn it down. Yeah, there we go. Okay. We'll start the show again now. Okay. It's good. You know, it's sort of a test, an ongoing test. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Space Operations Officer Chris Duncan will be here with us right after the intro. Okay. All right. This is some world-class Webovision. We have, ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Duncan. Christopher, how are you? You're in front of the Death Star.
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. So we're doing something a little new here. We're kind of doing something a little new. I'm going live. We've got comments coming in on the channel here. We're streaming. This is, of course, also the Tom Green podcast, so it will be available as an audio format as well. But you're calling in from where? And you are first of all, you're a space operations officer. A space operations officer, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm calling in from Northern Virginia, and I kind of have two duties. So I'm a space operations officer in the Army Reserve, and I work for a company called E3 Sentinel, and I'm their director of space initiatives.
Okay, so Christopher Duncan, when you say you're a space operations officer, does that mean like you're part of the Space Force?
Not at this moment. A lot of people don't realize Army has a lot of space people already, and so I'm with them. So I'm part of the Army Reserve, and there's some contention about whether we'll be in the Space Force or not.
Okay, so what exactly do you do, like with the space stuff? Like, what are you doing with the space stuff?
So a lot of people don't realize that. So your average brigade in the Army, which is a really large unit, has about 7,000 pieces of equipment that use space. So it's everything from making sure those work correctly to planning operations, like even down to measurement of solar weather to determine how that's going to affect navigation and things like that.
Okay, so like what kind of operations are we doing in space right now?
In space, probably not much. It's more of the effects of space on the ground.
Okay. Okay. What do you mean by that? I don't really know what that means.
Well, magnetic activity and solar storms kind of affect your accuracy on navigation. So imagine you probably had a few of those days before where you're driving and suddenly your GPS acts a little weird, and it shows you that you're over in the water and you're not on the road or something like that. A lot of that's caused by like electronic storming. So one of the things we do is forecast that and how it will essentially affect anything we use, that's from airplanes to even munitions and movement. So we can tell you if communications aren't going to be very good via SATCOM that week because of solar activity.
So are you launching ships into space?
Not in my Army Reserve job yet. One day maybe.
Okay, so what are you putting up there? Like you're putting satellites up there?
Yeah, so in my civilian career, working for E3 Sentinel, we're actually getting ready to announce a launch of 3 satellites soon.
Okay, and
2 or 3.
Okay, and so what do those satellites do?
So one of them is a purely academic project, so it will probably be developed by the Air Force Academy.
Okay.
So it will be some future Space Force officers putting it together.
Like, did you laugh because you can't say because it's top secret, national security?
I wouldn't go that far. We'll call it company security.
Okay.
We're working out some strategy with that.
Okay, all right. I mean, it's you can't, obviously you couldn't tell me if it was a national security thing anyways, right?
Exactly.
Right. That's cool. So a lot of people are asking things, and we can get to some of the more sort of out there questions right out off the bat, because a lot of people are asking things like, when we're with Christopher Duncan right now, by the way, who is a space operations officer You've worked for Raytheon, correct?
Yes, I have.
What did you do for Raytheon? You were their satellite manager?
So I was a manager of like a portfolio of programs, space programs, all of which were satellite stuff. So.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's so cool. And so I'm just blocking somebody on the channel because sometimes I get people that I like to block. So, just blocking someone. Yeah.
Understood.
It's okay. It was nothing against you. Don't worry about it. Somebody just called
Community
me.
service.
Yeah, no, someone just called me a piece of shit, actually. Somebody said that I was a lame piece of shit, so I blocked them on the thing. It's all right. It's okay. It's the internet. I've been doing this, I've been doing internet probably 3 times as long as the person that left that comment has been alive, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've literally been on the internet for 33 years. That person was probably 11 years old, and now they're blocked. I might be a lame piece of shit, but they're blocked, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, Chris. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable.
You're not. This is funny. I'm wondering how many times, speaking of how long, how many times you've experienced something like that. It's got to be so many times.
Oh, it's just fun to me. It's constant. Yeah. It's constant fun. But I'm creating like a new environment here where like it's all positive, right? So I'm not talking about stuff that's sort of going to be inflaming people, and it's just a positive environment. And when someone calls me a lame piece of shit, like I just block them. That's all. It's kind of a fun thing,
Yep.
Yeah. Now,
I actually had a talk about wholesome humor.
Now, in your work at Raytheon or as a space operations officer, do you ever get called a lame piece of shit?
Oh, no, I haven't yet. That'd be a new one for me.
Yeah. This is interesting because this is kind of like my job here, right? Like I've built a television studio, and these are all my friends, and part of my friends come and watch the show, and they're here excited to see you today. But part of it is sometimes people kind of stumble in here and they call me a lame piece of shit, and I have to block them right in the middle of an interview. But that probably doesn't happen much, like when you're working in the satellite industry, right? Like you don't show up at work one day and you're over at like in the cafeteria getting a snack or whatever, and then like someone walks up and says, "Hey, Chris, you're a lame piece of shit. By the way, how's that satellite going?"
No, I can't say anyone's ever done that before.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I'd react if they did that.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, unfortunately, in my job, I can just block them, but in real life, you can't block somebody in the cafeteria at Raytheon, can you?
No, you cannot.
No. I mean, or maybe you can. You guys probably have the technology to do that.
That'd be nice.
To block someone in the real world. Okay, so enough about that. I just wanted to let everyone in the chat know that if they call me a lame piece of shit, they'll be blocked, so that they don't do it anymore. Listen, let me ask you this. So I digress a little bit, but let's get back to this. We're getting a lot of questions from people, and go ahead, ask questions for Christopher Duncan. Ask him questions. Some of the questions I've noticed people are asking have been, do aliens exist? I know that's a little bit out there and not necessarily in your field of work, but you are in space. You're up there a lot. Right. I don't want to jump into something completely outrageous, but is that a legitimate question? Do aliens exist?
It's absolutely a legitimate question. Let's talk facts of what I know first, and I don't know if they exist. Now, my opinion is that they probably do, and I think that's just a numbers game. Like, I just think with the size of the universe and the number of planets, if it's a 1 in a million shot that life is developed somewhere, we've got several shots at that, like many, many, many shots, and it's probably happened more than once. Okay, but are aliens existing to the point that they're visiting this planet and observing us and aware of us? I honestly, I don't think so. I mean, so professionally, I have not seen any evidence of aliens. I just would lean. I don't think. I think it would be very absurd of us to think that aliens would be willing to bow to our desire for secrecy if they were here. Like, who are we to tell some race that's mastered spaceflight, hey, kind of keep it on the down low?
Yeah, well, maybe not even like in contact with us, but maybe just kind of like when people see those UFOs and stuff, are they flying by and just sort of looking at us or whatever?
I mean, it could be possible. It
Yeah.
could be possible.
Okay, but that's not why you're here, because this is not your field of expertise. Now tell me a bit about Space Force. People want to know about Space Force. What is Space Force, first of all, and how does it work, and what's it going to do?
So there's a little bit of opinion that I have that will not be representative of either the company I work for or the military. But my opinion is that Space Force is essentially a reprioritization of space and reconsolidation of space assets into one branch that will then make it a priority. So I like to think of it this way: when you're thinking about the Air Force, everyone thinks about the pilots, the fighter pilots. There's thousands of career fields outside of being a fighter pilot, but the Air Force's number one priority will always be air domination. So it makes sense with something as critical as space and everything we depend on in space. We would literally be in the Stone Ages if we didn't have space. Well, at least probably World War I, World War II era without space, that it be given a dedicated force to manage all of our space assets.
Okay, so what are we going to be putting ships up there with like that? Is it going to get to the point where it's like in Star Wars, where there's ships up there with people in it, and other ships up there, and they're flying around shooting at each other, like choo 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 choo? Is that going to happen?
I really don't think so, at least not in this lifetime.
What about like satellites that go up and shoot other satellites and blow up other satellites? Does that happen? Does that exist?
Not that I know of, and I really don't think anyone wants to do that. That's a really, really bad day if that happens. And,
Okay.
And not just today. That's decades of unusable space.
Okay, so America doesn't have that. Like when there's a war, they go over with their satellite with a choo choo, and they shoot the Russian and the Chinese satellites choo choo choo, and they blow them up.
So I can 100% confirm if they did, it wouldn't make that noise. It's more of a deeper choo choo.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't know.
What kind of noise would it make?
It's probably a little bit. It's deeper. We were talking from a place of power.
Yeah. Do they have noise in space?
Well, I mean, noise exists everywhere. It's just harder to hear it there.
Okay.
But no, to be honest, I don't know of any space-to-space weapons like that.
Okay. So that's what that would be called, space-to-space weapons.
Yeah, I would call it space-to-space or on-orbit weapons.
Okay, what about the Ronald Reagan Star Wars technology, the lasers that come from space and can knock out an incoming ICBM missile? Do we have that?
Oh, I really don't think so. The physics behind that and the power. So in the space, when you're designing in the space, when you're designing things, you got to talk about what's called SWaP-C, and that's an acronym for size, weight, and power dash cost. The size, weight, and power required to make a laser that can do that. Because if you think about it, our domestic lasers right now that you can buy, the most powerful ones, will like pop a balloon or burn a piece of paper. And I would just say an easy guess would maybe 10 times that for something I don't know about that the military has kept away somewhere, or 10 times or something like that. It still would require a ton of power and weight, and it just would be really hard to get up there, really hard to disguise, and then really hard to maintain.
Okay, so what's going on with Mars? Are we putting people on Mars? Are you involved with anything with Mars in your work?
So specifically Mars, I'm not involved in, although I would like to be. So the Mars Initiative is primarily like a SpaceX type thing to put people on Mars and try to basically populate Mars, turn it into a green planet. I think it's a very noble initiative, but I think there's a lot of problems associated with it. In fact, I think the last I researched, the magnetic field of Mars was gone. So that blocks a lot of radiation.
So in your day-to-day job, though, when you were at Raytheon, let's say, and you had the satellites up there, how many satellites, and what were you actually doing there? What did you do? Were you monitoring them? What were you doing?
Well, so here's the interesting thing: is satellites, you go up, when they go up, they don't just, well, if you're a modern country, they just don't go up and orbit and circle. They get regular updates. They might get firmware updates every day or every couple days. So some of them was actual operational, where they call it flying the satellite, but you're actually not flying it, but you're just essentially making sure it's pointing the right direction, which is down toward Earth, and not veering one way or the other. And most of the time, my primary job was actually designing newer ones. So I was and managing those programs. So it was, my idea to think of what we could possibly do, the art of possible, come up with it on a whiteboard, and then cost it out and see if it was worth selling.
Okay. So we're getting lots of questions here. One of the questions somebody just asked, which I thought was interesting, is what is the most surprising thing that you have learned about space?
So probably the most surprising thing would be the reverse of sort of the dynamics of speed and physics. And when I was very new into this, it kind of, so when you're orbiting, you're not actually flying, you're actually falling, but you've met a speed and trajectory so that your fall is slightly like faster than where the Earth is. So essentially you're falling trying to hit the Earth, but you're falling fast enough that you never quite hit it, and that's an orbit. And if you want to speed up, you actually have to come in toward the Earth. And if you want to hit the brakes and slow down, you actually go higher, which is the opposite of like an airplane. So at some point that kind of reverses a little bit. And so a lot of things actually just reverse once you get into space. That even boils down to radiation effect on electronics. So if you had a computer up there running, if we had a high radiation period and it's not a radiation like we call it rad hard, so like radiation hardened machine, or it's not hardened enough, but sometimes, I mean, it literally will just flip the binary code, so ones become 0 and 0 becomes 1.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, because you're getting really deep into the specifics here. I'm looking at a lot of questions coming in from people on YouTube, and somebody asks, Jose Diaz asks, is the Earth flat or round?
Round.
Yeah, okay. I kind of thought it was. Christian Green says, is Uranus made out of extra cheese? Okay. Right. And let's see here. Another question here from the internet. What is the Tic Tac incident of 2004? You know anything about that?
Oh man, I do, but I don't remember specifically.
Some like UFO kind of thing or something?
Yeah.
Here's a more realistic question that's about something real. How much trash is in space?
A lot.
And what do we do about that? Is this like nuts and bolts and stuff floating around? Why is that not like crashing into the space station all the time?
So it is. I think it was in 2014 when they had to maneuver the space station twice to get around trash. I do know that I don't want so don't hold me to a timeline, but it was early 2000s. China actually launched a missile into space to blow up one of its own satellites. And I think we're still dealing with like 3,000 pieces of debris, and they're all traveling so fast that they would just rip right through you or the space station too. They're still up there. And it's just a matter of time until they start to burn in, and that time might be years from now. Somebody out there has done the math to figure that out, but for the most part, it's going to take years to get in.
Oh, so you're saying eventually they will come into the atmosphere and they will leave, space will clean itself out. There is a certain amount of gravity pulling it closer then.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of like when you drop a coin into a funnel at like an amusement park, and it spins around and around and around as it gets closer and closer and closer, it gets faster. Now, if that funnel just went on forever, the further you get away from something like Earth, the funnel gets wider and wider and wider. So gravity gets less, and it takes less motion to fight against it.
So what about all these like millions of satellites that Elon Musk is putting up there so that we can get internet? And there's like little like what's it called, the Starlink, and you can see man can see them, and they're ruining the night sky and ruining the stars and everything. Is that like screwed up or something?
It kind of depends on how you look at it. So they fixed the ruining of the night sky as far as lights. So they've basically developed a shield to prevent the light, so you won't actually see a light from the satellite or a reflection.
Okay.
But I mean, there's an argument to be made that the internet now is a utility versus just something that's convenient to have.
Yeah.
And a lot of the world doesn't have access to that utility. It's not quite the same as running water, but it's getting pretty close where the access to that information is needed. And now whether a satellite constellation is the answer to that, that's another question. But more or less, I lean toward thinking it's a good thing. It's just a lot of satellites.
How many satellites are we talking up there right now? How many satellites?
Of total in space?
Yeah.
Oh God, I wouldn't even know. I mean, I would say probably close. Well, no, I don't even want to venture to guess. If it's not over 1,000, I'd be surprised.
Amanda is asking about space weed. Is there a space weed?
Well, I once saw it on a show called Trailer Park Boys, but
Yeah.
I've never found any space weed.
Yeah, so you and I met when I was performing at the Laugh Factory here in Hollywood last year, and you were sitting in the front row, and after the show we got a beer, and I asked you what you did, and you said, oh, you're like a rocket scientist, basically.
Yes. Well, I'm a computational scientist, so I basically deal with the math of physics and the math of space and science, which is ironic because I'm horrible at math.
Okay, so you're a rocket scientist, but you're not good at math. That seems to make perfect sense. I mean, you don't really need math, right? You just use a calculator when you need to use the math.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, very cool. I'm getting lots of good questions though here. I'm looking on the YouTube channel here. For people listening to the Tom Green podcast around the world, we go live on youtube.com/Tom Green. And when we're live, you can actually ask questions while I'm streaming. So what about this conspiracy about 5G technology being kind of causing coronavirus?
Well, the short answer is it's ridiculous. Second is, so when you lay out the electromagnetic spectrum, like left to right, a lot of people will put the low frequency, which is like 4G and lower, since we're talking about 5, all the way to the left, and then all the way to the right, we get into these synthetic frequencies beyond like gamma rays, like ultra high frequency stuff. The further to the right you go, the more damaging it is. The further to the left, less damaging it is. And 5G is well into the really not harmful space, especially at the power they're putting out.
So what's going on with the moon exactly? Are we going to go back there, and what's that all about?
I think we are. My specific interest in the moon is sort of twofold. I'm personally I've got a couple ideas, but I'm working on some navigation systems for the moon, similar to GPS and as landing ports. But what I personally would like to see, and there's some efforts underway to kind of reinvigorate the moon interest in agencies like NASA, is I want to see moon resources. I want to see exactly what's up there. And the second is...
What, like minerals and metal and stuff like that?
Yes. We know water's up there.
Really?
Yes.
There's water on the moon? Really?
Yeah. Yep. I don't think it's very much, but we did find some water on the moon.
Oh, okay.
But I want to see the moon used as a sort of staging area for deeper space exploration.
Yeah. Yeah. So when do you figure that's going to happen by?
I'm trying to count the decades, but I think it's going to be a while.
Very cool. Lots of questions here. People are asking about moon gold. Is that like something that they would actually do? Like they go up to the moon and mine for valuable minerals? And is that really like what do we need gold for so much that we would go to the moon to get gold? I mean, is it that important having gold?
I think the business case wouldn't hold up, traveling to the moon to mine and then hauling it back. Financially, I don't think it's going to hold up very well. Unless we're using it on the moon And the only application I could think of, unless you were building like moon diamond rings or moon gold rings, would probably be the use of electronics. But by the time we get to the point where we're manufacturing electronics on the moon, I think we'll have some solutions worked out.
Okay, okay. I'm looking at all the questions coming in. One person asked an interesting question. Why did you decide to come on this show, Chris?
Well, Tom, I've been, that's the honest to God answer is I've been a fan of yours since I was probably 14.
It's amazing to me to know that someone, when they were 14 years old, watching the Tom Green show. I mean, I don't know if that. Were you watching the show on MTV when you were 14 years old?
Absolutely, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I remember. I figured out the.
What year? My show premiered in 1999. How old were you in 1999?
Oh, I'm sorry. So then I would have been 17.
Yeah, 17 years old. Okay.
Yep.
So when you were 17 years old, okay, that makes sense to me. It's exciting to know that somebody who was 17 years old watching my show on MTV went on to become a renowned space operations officer and rocket scientist with Raytheon and the Space Force.
E3 Sentinel too.
And
don't forget about that's where I actually work.
E3 now. Sentinel. Okay.
Yeah, they're a new space company. I moved from Raytheon to get them to move to E3 Sentinel to actually get them into space. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, so what exactly are you guys doing then, like on a specific day-to-day basis right now at E3 Sentinel?
Oh man, so right now I'm essentially building a database of commercial space capabilities and fusing those capabilities to provide like lower cost to the general public. So right now, if you wanted to buy a radar image of Los Angeles, you would go to the radar image company, pay whatever, just whatever number, $5,000 to get whatever their latest pass was for radar imagery. Now, you, Tom Green, might only just buy that out of interest, but there is legitimate reasons for people to have these kind of things. Whereas I could potentially buy these data feeds, fuse them into one cell of like a group of space analysts, and provide the tools at a cheaper rate. So instead of paying $1,000 or $10,000, maybe you're paying $500 for it because we have 18 people buying it, or our feed is paid for. So we're essentially providing services cheaper.
So when somebody asks a question, what happened to the moon landing tapes, the tapes that disappeared of the moon landing? Is this something that's even in your purview of expertise? I mean, do you know anything about that? And could you answer that?
No, I don't really. And I don't really try to get into, I've led a lot of big projects. Like I've been in charge of a space program that was over $1 billion at one point. And as a project manager, getting something like that to happen to the level of secrecy required to get rid of moon tapes or to fake something, it's just, I would never expect it to be in the realm of possible. Like it's really just getting day-to-day communications. It's so surprising how easy it is to mess those things up in little ways that it would end up totally compromising something like that.
It's interesting because a lot of people are starting to say in the comments section on this show right now live, and I'm also noticing just generally on the internet, there's some question mark out there in sort of almost an over-the-top conspiratorial kind of way that people are actually suggesting that space itself might be fake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's the theory. I don't think there's any validity to it.
Does it not boggle your mind when you think about the infinity of space and how it goes on forever? I mean, how are we supposed to wrap our head around that? I mean, doesn't it just kind of like get depressing when you think about it too much and you realize, oh, it's infinite. We're never going to find out what it is. We're never going to see it all. We're never going to get to go to another planet that has life on it. We're just basically going to sit here isolated on this one rock floating around in the middle of nowhere all by ourselves, and then we're going to die.
And be called bad names on the internet.
Yeah.
No, so I don't think about it that way at all. I think it's achievable to actually get someone back up into space and potentially start looking at things like regular trips to the moon, hopefully within my lifetime. And
But like going to the moon, I mean, like, what's the big deal, right? Isn't that just like kind of going out to, the desert or something? I mean, it's just going to be rocks and,
well, we think, but I mean, there's more to find out. But it's also a good rehearsal. I mean, you gotta, if you can't get to the moon, you're not going to get somewhere else. So,
Do you think if they put like a submarine under the ice on Europa, one of the moons of Jupiter, is that a moon of Jupiter, Europa?
I don't know the moons of Jupiter name, honestly.
I think so. See, I'm talking about stuff that I read on the internet, right? I should really be asking you stuff about that you actually do, right?
Well, no, we can talk about the internet all day. That's one of my favorite hobbies.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to talk. I got you here. You're a space ops operation officer. I don't want to talk about you just like I would talk to anybody who's like sort of going down the rabbit hole of the internet looking at conspiracy theories, right? I want to talk to you about stuff that you are actually world-renowned expert. Are you a physicist?
In some ways, yeah. So I have a very small field of expertise in magnetics, so magnetic fields.
Okay. When China went to this is a question from the internet. When China went to the dark side of the moon, what were they doing over there, and why were they going over to that side, huh?
Oh man, hopefully they were. I would certainly hope they're not militarizing anything there. I mean, we all have treaties signed that we're not going to turn the moon into a military base, or militarize the moon, or do any sort of military activities on it. Hopefully, they were just exploring and doing, science type stuff. But my general hunch is they probably left a few sensors behind or something.
Now, Chris, don't take this the wrong way, but some of the people in the comments section, because they believe that space is fake and that the Earth is flat, are suggesting that you might be a member of some sort of disinformation campaign to come on here and sort of try to say more the answer that will quell some of these concerns from people about space being fake or whatever. Are you a part of a disinformation campaign?
If I was, I'd like my paycheck sent to me because I've been doing this a while. I haven't been paid. No, I'm not. But honestly, actually, I want to say do your research on this, but then people are going to take that as their, the people who are saying that are going to take it as their research, like Googling things versus actually, academically vetted sources and doing something simple like actually pitching in and putting up a balloon that will go into the atmosphere high enough to see.
It really is interesting, though, how many people are suggesting that space is fake. I'm trying to even wrap my head around that. I mean, I look at it, right? I'm looking at it, right? So how could it be fake? How could people even think that it's fake?
So honestly, I don't know. I haven't delved into the mind of that conspiracy theory, but I mean, you can buy some really affordable but really high-powered telescopes and see them. You can look up schedules of when the ISS could be going by, or different satellites. Look at it. You can see other galaxies with telescopes. I mean, and we're talking stuff people could pitch in and buy if they can't afford like $1,000 or less, and actually see what's going on.
Yeah, now some of these questions are just getting ridiculous. Someone's suggesting that you killed Jeffrey Epstein, which obviously is ridiculous. Somebody here is saying, so you can't take these questions. You didn't kill Jeffrey Epstein, did you, Chris? That's
I can't disclose that.
Yeah, okay. It's interesting though, the kind of comments that we are getting. We're trying to have a nice conversation with a space operations officer based out of, where are you? Langley, Virginia? Where are you?
No, I'm not at Langley, Virginia. So no, I'm in Northern Virginia in McLean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nowhere near the CIA headquarters.
not in Langley. Although the Epstein comments and those are pretty funny because I think those are lighthearted and good. The conspiracy, I always welcome the conspiracy. Like, if coming from an emotionally and mentally even-keeled person that will have a rational discussion, then that's fine. But I find a lot of times they're not very level about these kind of things.
Okay. Someone is asking, Chris, if you enjoy grapes.
I do enjoy grapes.
Okay,
Yep.
good. That's good.
I prefer green grapes over red grapes.
Yeah, we're going to get all the questions in from the people online. No, it's a lot of fun. People are having fun here. Do black holes contain a singularity? I don't even know what that means. Does that make sense, that question?
It does. That's a little outside of my expertise, though.
Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's lots of interesting questions. So, What's next for you then? What are you working on the next couple of months?
So I am actually on the Army Reserve side. I'm taking command of a space company. Actually, on paper, I'm already in, but we haven't done the change of command ceremony. So that'll be interesting. And then what really gets me going right now is I am actually getting ready to launch the satellites this summer. So we're in the process now of finalizing all the plans and design. The rocket's ready to go. It's just a matter of getting a couple of satellites built and put up.
And what are these specific satellites going to do?
So one will be designed by the Air Force Academy, and the other is we're keeping that corporate confidential.
Okay. Oh, so that's some top secret shit that you're doing?
It's corporate secrets, not government secrets. So,
yeah.
So that'll probably come by way of announcement at some point.
Have you ever done some top secret shit that's not top secret anymore, and you can tell us now?
Oh man. No.
No, it just stays secret forever.
25 years usually.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, well, let's see here. I'm just going to look here at a few more questions. Man, I'm excited about the Space Force. I mean, I think it's going to be cool.
I think
what did you
it's going to be.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh no. So what we're going to see out of this is a blend of Army and Air Force space people merging into this branch, and it's going to have a good mix of highly technical and highly operator-minded people, and I think that is going to be healthy for space in general, as far as the DoD is concerned.
There have been some questions about whether or not they designed the uniforms properly. Do you have a comment on that, about the uniforms for Space Force?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I do not.
You don't want to get in trouble with the uniform people over there?
Yeah, the uniform people are not ones to mess with.
Here's a question that's probably a one you've been asked before, but having been in those circles with the military and with the Space Force, Area 51, what's in that shit?
What's in it? I don't know, but it's a test range, so there are probably a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't work and a handful of things that are really cool that work.
Okay, so like, what you mean? Like they're just testing like rockets over there, or new aircraft?
I would say probably 90% new aircraft.
Because like a lot of people on the internet like to believe, some of these scientists that have come out of there and said that they've got a reverse engineering alien spacecraft and they've got a body or a live alien. A lot of people like to believe that. No truth to that, though, is there?
Not that I'm aware of. And I mean, let's be honest. I could come out and say the same thing. Area, I don't know, 17, whatever that is. They've got aliens. It's Area 17. And then fabricate some stuff and put it out there.
Quite a few people are asking if there has ever been sex in space. Is that something you would know? Would you know anything about that?
I don't know, but I would honestly bet money there has.
Oh, really?
100%. Yep. If this was Vegas, I'm putting money that it has.
Why? You just think a couple astronauts up there, kind of one thing leads to another?
Why wouldn't you? You're in space.
Yeah, it's like, hey, but I mean, would they have to like write that down in some sort of a captain's log notebook or something?
Man, that would be an interesting log.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there would be some record maybe, but.
So you do believe, though, that there has been sex in space and that it's just never been reported because it was kind of done on the DL kind of thing?
Well, I mean, I think it's personal, right? Wouldn't report sex anywhere else. Why would you report space in there?
Well, but just because I think,
me,
there aren't they researching about human beings having to be able to live on other planets and, continue the species. I mean, you think that would be probably more valid research than like trying to see how long a tadpole can survive, right?
Yeah, that's a very valid point. But I think that research would come from actually sending people to have sex in space versus sending people up to do research on other stuff. And, oh, by the way, they decided to hook up.
Do you think they have sent people to have sex in space and they just haven't really volunteered that information because it was kind of a little...
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I don't think they have. But again, I'm totally just guessing. I don't know if they've had sex in space or not.
Do you think the space station is just one big sort of space orgy kind of going on up there? Like just a nonstop space orgy? No,
I do not think it is. But man, that would be one hell of a party.
Yeah. What about booze? Is there a lot of booze up there? Like, do they bring any booze into space, or is there no booze allowed?
I don't think there's any booze in space right now. I mean, I'm
No,
sure there's probably small amounts, but
no
I
booze
don't
in
think they have a
space.
full bar. I mean, I would have to look it up. Honestly, whether they've got booze in space also is not in my specific area. Although, if I were an astronaut, I would probably be trying to find a way to get some booze in space.
When are they going to when are they going back to the moon? When's that happening?
I, I think there were some goals, but for 2024, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we're going to hit that right now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so, and what like what are they going to do there? What's the plan? Just are they going to stay there this time, or are they just going to check it out again and come back?
I think we're going to check it out, and I think we're going to probably take a few more resource samples and do some a little bit more thorough analysis of things, and then bring back more data.
Have you heard anything about this rumored or reported idea that Tom Cruise is going to be going to the International Space Station to film scenes for the next Mission Impossible movie?
Only thing I've heard about it is that it was proposed. Like
Yeah.
actually wanted to do it. I would be really jealous if he did. But man, I just really hope that they spend that trip on something else.
A lot of people are asking a lot of strange questions here, weird questions. Of course, people like to kid around. But what are some things that you would really like to talk about right now that we haven't covered yet?
Whew, man. If you really want to, if you really want to get me going, we can talk about some of the new stuff I'm doing with magnetics. Although I think it's probably, I would struggle to not get into too much
Hell yeah,
down.
yeah. No, I want to get into detail with magnetics. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I mean, it'd be kind of fun to talk about magnetics a little bit just to see what you got to say on that subject.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, everybody always wants to get into detail on magnetics. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, I love magnetics. I mean, I love playing with magnets when I was a kid. I like to take the iron filings and you put them on the magnet under the table, and then they're moving on their own.
Yeah. It's a great party talk.
Yeah. So
magnetic fields.
what's going on with magnetics and magnetic fields right now,
Well-
Christopher?
Well, so I was supposed to be presenting in Vegas on or around the 29th, but I because of the coronavirus, I'm not. But effectively, published a paper demonstrating that magnetic fields actually defeated a Faraday cage, which is a cage designed. It's actually a box designed to block all like radio signals.
Yeah.
And we basically what I did is I stuck a radio signal transmitter inside the box, and the radio signal stayed in, and the magnetic fields left the box, which then allowed us to see what was going on in the box, so what was being transmitted, so we could hear the audio.
Yeah. And that's pretty exciting, is it?
To me, that's very exciting because essentially it kind of breaks the known about Faraday cage in most circles. There are some people who kind of had that in their mind that it could happen, and we just did it.
That's good to know. I'm going to have to break out the Faraday cage. I've got mine sort of back in the garage. I'm going to have to dust it off. I haven't really used my Faraday cage in months.
You got to maintain those things.
Yeah.
But what I've been doing now is I'm working on algorithms now to take those magnetic fields and identify based on wave pattern where they're coming from, or what specific thing they're coming from. So I'm looking I'm trying to look at the Earth's magnetic field to determine if there's maybe some shifting, like a warning for an earthquake.
Yeah.
It's actually very pertinent in
Oh,
California.
that's relevant. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
relevant to me. That affects my life. I want warning of an earthquake. How much of a warning?
Well, I'm hoping that maybe, in the best case, we can maybe boost the warning from a couple minutes to like an hour.
Okay, that could be
So-
good.
And that's totally just on what I've seen on some very, very low level, like entry level tests. But it appears that sometimes you can get signaling from magnetic field shifts up to an hour or more that something bad is about to happen.
So you've talked with me about the possibility of launching a Tom Green Show satellite so we could broadcast this show from space. Is that something that's still in the works?
It's 100% still in the works.
Really?
Yep. It's I'm doing some maneuvering on my end, but long story short, we're looking at almost the same build out as what like the Air Force Academy might be doing, and taking either a video and putting it on on their payload and just having it shoot right down to an Amazon ground station, and it would be available for all.
So we're talking about broadcasting this show from outer space in a satellite. Is that what we're talking about?
Yep. And I'm thinking, and now it's obviously your show, but my idea is to make a space only show. So the only place you can get this one particular show is from space.
That's pretty cool.
So, but of course, it's up to you. It'll either way. We're going to make it happen.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. Is there a way just to get like a sticker that says the Tom Green Show just on the outside of the satellite?
Yeah, I can do that now if you want.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. You send me a sticker, I'll put it on a satellite, the next satellite that goes up.
What? Are you kidding me?
Nope, absolutely, I'll do it.
And is there a way to get like some sort of a photo of that?
Yeah, 100%.
Is there a way to get a photo of that like when it's in space?
That might be more difficult, but I think we can. I think we can try to work on it.
Oh my God! I'm sending you a sticker today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sending you a sticker, Chris.
Send two. Send one for my car.
Yeah, one for your car and one for outer space satellite. I want to go where no sticker has gone before.
No Tom Green sticker, especially.
Yeah, is that something that people do? Has anyone ever asked that before? Hey, can I have a sticker that I send up on one of your satellites, or is that
no? I think this is definitely a first time for me. Immediately, my brain is talking about or thinking about like properties of if it's just going to burn up, and if so, then how do we keep it away from anything that's going to light on fire? But I mean, we'll figure it out. It's going to happen.
Hey, you know when Elon Musk, when they launched that rocket up there, and then they had the Tesla in it, and they cut to a shot of the Tesla with the driver and the astronaut in the Tesla. Is that bullshit? Is that not real?
No, that's real.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, that's real.
Doesn't that seem like a huge payload though to just send up there for no reason?
It's huge, but SpaceX has $1 million barrier to entry. So if you take your iPhone and put it on that rocket, it's $1 million, and they're selling out.
But what I'm saying is, why did he send a?
I think
wouldn't that be technically almost very difficult to have was it strapped on the outside of the rocket or something?
No, it would have been inside. It would have been inside, and it would have just been launched at a particular place in orbit and let go. And you do all those calculations ahead of time, and you know kind of where you got to release it, and what speed you'll be at, and what orbit it'll put it in. So it's true then there is a Tesla with an astronaut dummy just floating off into the middle of nowhere in the middle of space right now? Yeah, yep. That's of all I can't get up there, but we can do that.
And where's it going? Is it orbiting, or is it going off into the universe?
I believe, if I remember correctly, it's in a very highly elliptical orbit, so it's going to get really far away and kind of slowly come back.
And then it's going to crash and burn into the ocean at some point, or is it going to land like in downtown Cleveland?
Well, it'll burn up completely.
Oh, okay.
So nothing will touch the ground.
Wow. It must be fun to have, David Blount says, it must be fun to have ridiculous amounts of money to do ridiculous things like Elon Musk.
It must be. I mean, there's a lot of good, though. I mean, he didn't get that money because he was just sitting around. So he's done a lot of good and a lot of, some people would say, controversial stuff.
A lot of people are excited about the idea of a Tom Green sticker going up into space. I really hope we can make that happen, Chris. I really do.
No, that's going to happen. The hard part is going to be if we can actually get you to take a picture with the satellite with the sticker on it.
Yeah, that will be amazing.
Like you holding the satellite, and the hard part is actually going to be coordinating your schedule for that. It's done. As far as I'm concerned, it's done.
Okay, we're getting that. We're getting that to you. Well, Chris, this has been great talking to you. I appreciate it. I just wanted to. We talk a lot, off camera. You're actually going to help me find Bigfoot as well, right?
Yes, I am. Oh man, I forgot to bring that up. I actually was invited to go out and help find Bigfoot this weekend.
Yeah. Oh, with Russell?
Yep.
Oh yeah, but well, geez, you didn't even tell me. I mean, you weren't. You guys weren't going to invite me, or what?
I completely forgot about it. No, I don't know. I just got a call the other day. Hey,
I connected you guys, and you're going to sneak off and find Bigfoot without me. I thought
I would never do that, Tom.
I thought I put this whole thing together.
Oh man, now I feel bad. No, it just completely came up on me, and all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, can you come out here?" Like, okay, sure.
And so,
It was actually
so it was my idea, right? The idea that you have
100%
you have
your
a
idea,
radio technology that might be able to scan the forest and find Bigfoot, right? That was my idea, right?
it was actually it was 100. You connected us, and then that's actually what I was doing today, was picking up an antenna, because last minute I got this. Hey, let's go out.
Okay, so then if you guys go out there, right, and you find Bigfoot because of my idea, right, does that essentially mean that I'm like one of the people that are
Yes.
part of the discovery of Bigfoot?
Yeah. The problem with that is we'll actually have to put a sticker on Bigfoot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sticker Bigfoot.
But yes, you would, because without you, we wouldn't have. Man, I feel so bad now.
No, don't feel bad about it. I just want to make sure that I'm acknowledged in the credits when we find Bigfoot with my idea, because I interviewed Russell Accord from Expedition Bigfoot, right? And then I interviewed you from when you were still at Raytheon, I believe, at that time. And we were talking about some of the technology that you're using, radar, etc. And I thought, hey, that could apply to what I talked to Russell about, because he was using heat-seeking technology to try, like a heat signature technology to find Bigfoot. Thought that could apply to Bigfoot, used for Bigfoot. So I put you two together, and I kind of feel comfortable and confident in saying that I think that that's going to work. I think we're going to find Bigfoot.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Now, I actually have a more information from research that I've been doing that basically would point us in the right direction of where Bigfoot actually is, based on conversations I've had with lots of people in British Columbia, Canada.
Oh, and where specifically are they saying?
Well, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want you and Russell sneaking off with your machine without me, so you're gonna have to come with me to do that.
Yeah, let's do that. That's way better. No, I'm actually, before you called, I was actually sitting here on a laptop hooking up and going through digital signal processing software and trying to get this magnetic loop up and running.
Yeah, absolutely. We were also talking about maybe you were going to help me get a satellite or some sort of antenna that I could broadcast using some sort of a terrestrial broadcast signal, so we could actually broadcast throughout the Los Angeles area without using the internet. Is that something that we're still thinking about doing?
So yes, it will have to be, though, probably in the ham radio licensing type spectrum. I really looked and looked and looked, and I even looked at loopholes, and I talked to people about how we could get some kind of short range broadcast, even super low frequency, through one of these magnetic loop antennas. And it just really boils down to they've got a tight control on it, unless you're only willing to go a few feet, which doesn't do us any good.
That might be kind of fun. Just have a magnetic loop antenna set up on my roof that allows me to broadcast just a few feet, and then I could ask the audience to come sit around at the base of like my front steps or something like that and watch the show.
Yeah, just give out your address here in the chat, and we'll all meet there.
Absolutely. Okay, well, great. Well, listen, hey, I appreciate it so much, Chris. Thank you so much for talking to me today, and we'll talk again soon. You can keep us posted on any new ideas and things that you have that you're working on, and let's get that sticker up in space, the Tom Green Show sticker up in space.
Absolutely. Let's do this again sometime real soon.
Yeah, thanks very much. I appreciate it, Chris. You have a good one, and I'll give you a call later, okay?
All right. Thanks a lot, Tom.
All right. Thanks, man. You're awesome. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
That's Christopher Duncan, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching the show. I appreciate it. We're having a good time here. I'm having a good time. This is really like I want to thank Christopher for being part of this technical test, essentially. Everything's really running much more smoothly now. You probably noticed that the audio is a little better than it was a week ago. So things are looking good. Things are sounding good. I'm excited about it. I'm going to be working on some dope hip-hop beats this afternoon, and getting ready to continue pursuing my dream of becoming a rapper. I'm going to figure out a way to eliminate the fan noise on this fan that is sort of a big part of Weblevision right now. There we go. Oops. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So listen, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. And we will see you all next time on the show, possibly tomorrow, possibly the next day. But yeah, love you guys. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay? Thanks again. Bye.
Yeah.